Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guest. And I had a question before the break.
Yeah, so what you do is huge, and the impact probably would be more. Can you share personal stories of how the connections you have made, the trades that have happened, and the impact on the lives of those that are in Nigeria who benefited from it, or even from the Made Men Foundation, and the impact on the families who now have strong male models and all of that?
Well, I mean, there's so many great stories to tell. I guess sometimes I miss the opportunity to tell them. I mean, I think one of the best opportunities that I've seen is when I was working with George Foreman, and the boxer and his family, and he desperately wanted to connect and open up some sort of boxing program in Nigeria for youth, to connect. And he had no idea where to begin. And from doing the Made Man, one of the great things about giving back is I sort of became the bridge for everyone to trust coming back to Nigeria through me. And that's happened a lot. And he's one of the many individuals, and the NBA, the NFL, so many entities want to come back home. And I've been blessed to be able to make those connections. And I know those organizations may be big, but they don't know where to begin. But they know that we are the Mecca for entertainment. They know we're the Mecca for humanity and for intellectual capital, but they don't know how to bridge that gap. So sometimes in just servicing families, you're not realizing you're now touching the globally with impact. So I've brought in so many incredible change agents such as that through the embassy in the United States to come back here. And we've done so many projects like that. And it started with community service, but then they started trusting the process and the empowerment of it all and building bridges organically through these leaders so they don't have to, so they can build the trust equity.
What did George Foreman do in Nigeria? Did he do anything like?
Yeah, he came and started a boxing camp and stuff for youth. But he and so many other, we've bought hotel groups here, we've bought entertainment groups, and we bought groups here from so many different sectors just because of the trust equity. And we continue to do that work, and the millions that we're connecting goes beyond the community service. It just translates into economic development and many other things.
So the boxing community, is it still the boxing community?
Oh yes. He's actually going into other countries as well.
Okay, so this is your community.
Let Mariam jump in.
So I love that, you're talking about bringing them in, because there's a phenomenon we're dealing with here in Nigeria. It's called the japa syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of it. Where it seems everybody's leaving Nigeria to go to America. Like, I know you said infrastructure is better. Like, that's why I asked you that question initially. Knowing that, for the dual cultural perspective that you have, what do you think that Nigerians may be missing if they're so focused on going to America instead of staying back, especially now when we feel like we need them more? Because many of our hospitals were losing doctors,
Right.
So what do you think, as an American and Nigerian, can speak to this phenomenon, saying, there's something that can be done here and it's just as beneficial as going to America?
Well, I think that just goes back to being where you're really from, cultural psychology. I mean, there is a lot of great gifts out in the world, but ultimately a Nigerian is only a Nigerian when you're home. So being accepted, there are a lot of barriers when you travel. There are a lot of barriers culturally, economically, socially, psychologically that you have to deal with every day besides the day-to-day. When you come home, one of the things when I came home, I no longer had to make excuses. I no longer had to apologize for having so many degrees, for being so aggressive, for being so boisterous, for being so, what's the
Nigerian.
word? Right, Nigerian. But I was apologizing for that for so long until I came home. And now here I'm motivated. I want to do so much more. I'm surrounded by so many positive people that just push you. So you no longer have to wear masks. You can just be yourself. And that is a layer that can take off so many barriers when you're trying to get to the next level in your humanity. And
interesting. When my brother's sons came around a few years ago for the first time, and they said something very similar to what you just said. You come here, you feel like this is home.
Yes.
All the various masks you have to wear outside the country, it drops off, and you feel comfortable.
Right.
You feel like you're equal to everybody here. So I get that. Now let me go to the issues of the vices young people go through, the parenting, families, the fact that there's a lot of disconnect amongst families. What is your organization, or what is your NGO, what is it doing to help families make a better connection with their kids to reduce the amount of vices these young people go into?
Well, one of the things that we are doing is rebuilding the family unit so that the mother and father are communicating differently, despite any sort of challenges they may have. And we're also rebuilding the cultural barriers so that children realize no matter where you are, we're all going through the same thing. So you don't have to hide. Talk about what you're going through. This white girl over here is going through that. This black girl is going through that. That matters when you're telling children to come outside of their comfort zones. And I believe we're also building generational legacy in some way that's transformational, because we're making sure that the barriers between humans and societies and cultures are being broken so that we can continue to scale together, which is huge. Believe me, if we continue to operate in silos and in silence, we would not be able to exchange resources. And if you don't scale up here, you can't scale down here. It's grassroots to grass tops.
Well, how did you get into this? Like, tell us your personal story.
The why story.
Yes.
The why.
Yes. Why did you do it, and how did you even get into it? Like, how did it happen?
Well, oddly enough, being first of 7 with my mother and father, I always felt accountable. That it was something I had to do, and I sort of fell into that role. And then going back to the States with my mother, and she was by herself, I took on this role, and I went to be a social worker and a psychologist. And believe me, I hate to say it again, but my life circumstances pushed me always to look for answers. And in that, I just started doing the work, and I was lucky enough, I hate to share so much of my personal life, but I was lucky enough to date a gentleman who worked for BET. So I got into the entertainment world, and then I said, if I know all these great people, let me bring them into the community. And I did that with sports, then I did that with film and production, and it's been people in my life taking me to their doors, opening their doors for me, and me thinking about how I can create impact from these relationships.
Not a bad thing.
Yes.
Okay, so this is your community, right? Do you have the white people in this community? And
of course, we have all of that.
Yeah, okay. So how are you impacting the white people with what you know from the Nigerian side?
Well, what we're doing is we're connecting with the Connecting 1 Million Women in Trade. We're literally putting together 10,000 associations within 102 countries to empower them to be able to give women money to scale in trading with financing, with trainings, and through think tanks. That's never been done before. So that in itself is very exciting. And these women, no matter what color they are finally exchanging resources. That's never been done before.
Tell us about your access to the White House. Tell us about that story. How did that happen?
She's been very careful not to drop names. And this is you. This is Nigeria. Remember where you are. In Nigeria, you say who you are. Really? You will tell them, do you know who I am? Do you know who I know? But please remember, so we would like you to talk about those.
Tell us about the honors.
Tell us about those connections.
Yes. Well, you thank God for all the community work. Like I said, when you stop looking for yourself, people see you. So I'm doing all the community work I've been doing. I was lucky enough to work with Biden-Harris with their mobilizing black male leaders for voting. I'm just a mobilizer. I work with the White House for mobilizing youth for their summits. I've been honored by the White House and numerous other officials because of the community service work I'm doing. And I've been able to become an advisor with the ECOWAS Diplomatic Corps, which was very dear to my heart because of the fact that we're building bridges. Yes, and I represent West Africa to many over there, and for over there, vice versa. So I've just been able to use whatever God has given me to just make it work. And with the blessing of so many stakeholders, in mobilizing millions of stakeholders, you end up having a network. You know, from grassroots to grass tops, from the White House to the C-suites. But what do you use that network for is what we really need to make sure that we're being transformational instead of transactional.
Tell me something about the relatability of all these various cultures, the Africans, the African Americans, the Caribbeans. What's that thing that binds us together? What's that thing that you feel that really connects us, do you think?
Culture, for sure. Culture, music. Culture, under culture, you have music, you have food, you have, you know, the way we dress, fashion. The biggest connection is culture, 1,000,000%. Even when we do cultural programming, we always make sure that when we do tourism programming or any kind of programming to bridge ecosystems and cultures, we always go to entertainment. That's the first way we go to, because that's the first thing people can You see, go to concerts, you see white people singing to songs that they're singing Yoruba Asha. They're singing Asha song, it's sold out, they don't know one word. So like that's when the world is smiling, that's when you're being impactful.
But what are like top celebrities that you've worked with and you've generated a lot of views? I want you to drop names. Sorry, I'm going back.
I've had the pleasure to work with so many amazing celebrities. From in Nigeria, the Wizkids, and in the US, the Beyoncés. I've worked with Matthew Knowles. I've worked with so many amazing. The Roots, Jill Scott. So many NFL players.
Do you think she deserved the award she recently got for Best Country Music? I mean, there's a lot of controversy. I hear people are not happy about that. Some are happy, others are saying that there are other people like Dolly Parton who, I mean...
There's Beehive sitting right here.
So many people.
We're here for you.
So what are your thoughts on that award?
I believe Beyonce has done a lot for our culture. And however she can get awarded for that, let's give her her own. If someone else wants their own, they need to come out and do the work. That's what I believe.
I like that.
Yes.
Okay, working with these celebrities and what do you like listening to them and maybe picking their brains? What do you think? How do they see us? You know, how do they? I know a lot of people want to collaborate with us music-wise, but I'm wondering about like fashion. You know, food and all the other, like, are they looking at Nigeria now, Africa now, and thinking, I need to get there? Or what's it like now?
It's funny, and a quick story before we end. I remember years ago, I had the opportunity to work with a gentleman named Paulo. He used to do concerts, etc., in Nigeria, and then went global with One Music Africa Fest, and caused Canino, so many amazing people in Nigeria. And they years ago, maybe even 15 or so years ago, they used to call me, Kai, Davido wants to collaborate with, Christopher Brown, and I would call Christopher Brown, Rihanna, and I'm like, come collaborate. They're like, who, what? You crazy, right?
Yeah.
So then now, just years later, seeing just in real life, these collaborations are happening, and so many people in the States are always calling me, Kai, we want to bring Nollywood, we want to bring Hollywood. They're so excited. It's just so excited. You guys, Nigeria is the Mecca. For sure.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
You.
We have to wrap up, but hopefully we can bring you back when you're doing other stuff in this country.
Definitely, we look forward to it.
That is all we can take on today's show. We learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Thank you.